Welcome, everybody, and War Eagle. My name is Gretchen Van Valkenburg, and I have the privilege of serving as Vice President of Engagement for Auburn Advancement and the Executive Director of the Auburn Alumni Association. And today, I also have the extended privilege of serving as your host for 1856 Speaker Series. During our show, we would love to hear from all of you who are watching. So please, please, please ask questions, interact by leaving comments on our Facebook page, and we will certainly do our best to answer those during the time that we have and acknowledge in the half hour that we have together. I am so excited today. We have some special guests with us. We have Becky Barlow, who's the Interim Associate Dean and Assistant Director of Forestry and Wildlife Sciences at Auburn University. She also serves as for Extension and in the ACES program. We'll provide them an opportunity to introduce themselves a little bit later. We also have joining us Carrie Smith, who's the Administrator for Outreach Programs and Horticulture. And we also have Wesley Anderson, who's the Assistant Professor and Extension Specialist here at Auburn University. And so at this time, I would love to have them further introduce themselves to each of you. And I would ask you, let us know a little bit about how you came into your current role here at Auburn. And let's start, let's see, I'm gonna go around Hollywood Squares. Becky, let's start with you.
Okay, great, thanks. Hi, everybody. Yes, I am Becky Barlow. I am a professor in the School of Forestry and Wildlife Sciences and Extension Specialist. And I'm also currently serving as the Interim Associate Dean and Assistant Director for Ag, Forestry, and Natural Resource Programs within Alabama Cooperative Extension and within the College of Agriculture. So I was telling Gretchen earlier, my title is way too long, but I have been with Extension and Auburn University since 2007. Came by way of forest industry and just really love the ability to be able to reach out and teach and work with landowners and the public. So that love really brought me to Auburn, and it's been a wonderful so far.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Becky. How about you, Wesley?
Yeah, hi, everybody. So I'm Wesley Anderson, Assistant Professor and Extension Specialist in Alabama Extension. So I'm a wildlife specialist. I've been interested in wildlife my entire life, ever since I could walk, and probably before that. And I have chased that passion my entire life. I really like reptiles and amphibians. I have a little gray rat snake here. But prior to coming to Auburn, and I just started last year, I was doing my PhD at the University of Florida, where I spent most of my time on a cattle ranch about waist deep in water, seeing what kind of impacts pigs were having on salamanders and snakes and things like that.
Wonderful. And Carrie, last but not least.
Good morning, everybody. Y'all, thanks for having us on today. I started out my professional career as a classroom teacher, so hats off to all of those classroom teachers who are dedicated and stick with it. It's a tough job, y'all. It's a real tough job. Then I decided I want to get outside and do some things outdoors, and got interested in horticulture and found a job at Callaway Gardens, worked in their education department for a little while. And then that had a nice connection back to Auburn, which is where I got my graduate degree in horticulture. And so I became the state program coordinator for our Extension Master Gardener program several years ago, and have enjoyed that experience all the while. So I'm in the horticulture department at Auburn University.
Well, wonderful. Well, we're excited to have all of you here today. And let's kick off. We've got some wonderful discussions ahead of us. And so I'm going to start with you, Wesley, if it's okay. Tell us a little bit about the Alabama Master Naturalist program and a little bit about how that fits in the mission of Auburn University.
Sure. So the mission of Auburn University, being a land-grant institution, includes research, teaching, and extension. And sometimes people don't know what extension is, but it really is providing research-based programs and resources to help solve problems across the state of Alabama, in the case of Alabama Extension. So the Alabama Cooperative Extension System, that's the primary outreach and engagement organization that includes both Auburn University and Alabama A&M in cooperation with Tuskegee. And Yeah, so why is something like Alabama Master Naturalist important, and how does that reach our goals, our extension goals? Well, some people might not know this, but Alabama ranks fourth in biodiversity in the entire country. So biodiversity meaning the number of organisms, different species of organisms that we have in the state. It's only behind California, Texas, and Arizona, states that are much bigger. Ranks first east of the Mississippi River. And not only that, but we have a very high level of extinction and also just organisms that are endangered. So environmental education is really crucial in the state if we want to proceed with sustainable use of resources and try to prevent some of these extinctions that are occurring. And Alabama Master Naturalist seeks to be not only an organization that provides that training, explains to people and teaches people why these things are important and how we can help conserve them, but also gets people volunteering and working on natural resource-based volunteer projects.
So I think you all are kind of experiencing a rebirth of sorts for the Master Naturalist program right now. How many active volunteers do you have currently around the state? And what would be your aspirational goal, if you will, to attract some additional volunteers?
That is a great question. So actually, currently, we're in the process of rebooting the program. And we only have a handful of current volunteers. What we're doing right now is offering it online for the first time. And so through that, in this first year, hoping to have about 100 people who enroll in the course. And each of those people, they need to log 30 hours before they can achieve their certification. And from then on, to remain current with the certification, they need to log 30 hours a year.
Okay, wonderful. So along with Master Naturalist, that's easy for me to say this afternoon or this morning, we have a very well-established Master Gardener program and a very, I would say more, I want to say obvious, but people are more active in that program. And so Carrie, I know you've been instrumental in having that success. Could you tell us a little bit about that program and how it impacts Alabama?
Sure, absolutely. Well, again, we're happy to share that because last year we celebrated our 40th anniversary. So we feel like that's a big accomplishment. Statewide, we have roughly 2,000. It vacillates a little bit from year to year how many are active, but almost 2,000 Master Gardener volunteers statewide in roughly half the state. And we are kind of embracing technology and taking ourselves in new directions as well. But traditionally, it's been 100% face-to-face training for those volunteers. We have about 50 hours of in-class training, and we require intern Master Gardeners to report, to get active, and then report 50 hours of volunteer work to become certified. Once they're certified, it's much less than that to remain active every year. But basically, we see them as an extension of extension. So they do a lot of the things that extension agents do. They'll do educational programs, a short lunch and learn. They also do things that we don't have time to do as extension agents. They have plant sales that can be educational. It also helps to fund their civic projects that they do, whether it's a school or a public park or their lunch and learn, here again, putting money back into that. So they really do expand what we can do in extension home grounds, and we feel like really enhance the messaging from extension, trying to teach people more about their home landscapes. It's still the #1 question that comes into the office. So we really need those Master Gardener volunteers to help us answer that need.
That's wonderful. And I know since it started in gosh, 40 years ago, you said, I mean, that's amazing. You've mentioned briefly some of the projects that a lot of your gardeners do across the state. And from your vantage point, what do you see? I guess really over the last 2 years, and with the absence of a lot of face-to-face training, do you see the virtual training kind of translating into a similar experience, or do you see there is an uptick and more face-to-face coming back as we're coming out of this pandemic?
Yeah, And that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have a solid answer, though. We are thinking about that and trying to figure what's going to be the most popular. I think some people are going to gravitate toward virtual because that's what they're accustomed to, and yet other people still prefer the face-to-face. So our goal, and I think Wes's as well, is kind of a hybrid approach. So there will be some instruction that is online and then some instruction that is face-to-face. I think one component of a successful volunteer program is making that connection, that people-to-people connection. Volunteers, they're not volunteering for the money. There's no paycheck for this. So it's the social interaction, it's a connection to something that they're passionate about, whether it's a walking trail or a city park. So we want to keep that personal connection, because I think that's what's made our program successful.
I think what's exciting about both of these programs, and certainly Becky, you chime in on this answer as well, but what these do for your personal health and being out. I know over the last I'm not a master gardener, I'm an amateur, but I love being outdoors and I love seeing the results of my labor, if you will. And Wes, I know for so many people who are moving back to the area, we have a lot of Auburn alumni who want to live here. And how can they get involved in both of these programs? What's the easiest way for them to raise their hand or just go on kind of a short program, maybe not become an official volunteer, but actually participate in both of these? And Wes, or Becky, or whomever wants to answer that. What's the easiest way for people who are watching to actually do that?
Sure. So with Alabama Master Naturalist, we haven't officially launched our online course yet. In the next month or so, it should be out. I can drop a link in the chat later, or it can be distributed later. But the best way right now is just to get on our mailing list. I update people through that, and that is the best way currently. But we are really just starting out.
Great. Well, we're going to help you promote that. Carrie, what about you?
Sure. Well, back to Master Gardeners being an extension of Extension. Lots of programs. This time of year, they're having those plant sales around the state. So search social media for Alabama Master Gardener, and you'll find any number of counties pop up there. Several of them have demonstration gardens. I think that's a great way to learn more about plants that grow in your area, what a vegetable, a shrub, whatever it might be, herbal plants. Lunch and learn programs. Those are really short, just 30-minute programs that are available in different counties. And again, a search on the ACES website or through social media, and you can find what's available in your area. So because Master Gardeners are offering programs to the public, that's just a few ways that they can interact with Master Gardeners.
Becky, from your vantage point and the uniqueness of, I heard this recently, Auburn University and its partnerships through Extension is probably one of the most unique models around the country. Can you speak to that and why that is the case?
Yes, we have a really, like you said, a unique is a good way to put it. But really, I think effective model that we have is a little bit different than maybe some of the other extension models folks may be familiar with. If you notice, our name is the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. We are actually a system, and Wes kind of alluded to this earlier. It's not just Auburn Extension. It's Auburn University in partnership with Alabama A&M University, and also the cooperations with Tuskegee. So we work together as this system. And then we have specialists like Wes who are housed within a departmental unit on campus, but then we have regional extension agents. So Carrie mentioned, the extension agents that work with the home grounds team and the Master Gardeners. They're across the state, and they have different specialties, but they're all on this home grounds team. Same with forestry and wildlife. We have regional extension agents that are located across the state that can do a lot of that boots on the ground work and reaching out to folks, come out, A lot of times we have those questions. Carrie has the questions and we have the questions in forestry too. You'll have a tree that, I want somebody to come and look at, or what is this? I've identified an insect and want to have somebody look at it, or what is this? We've got pigs on our property. So those folks that are those regional agents are the ones that can get out there and really make those good connections. And as Carrie and Wes both alluded to, the connections are what's so important, and it's our people that are out there in the field that really help make the difference.
Thank you for that. I think that's important for individuals to understand this amazing network that we have at our fingertips and every single county in the state. And so I want our viewers to understand that they can access that. That's why we are here, why you are here, to do that. I know the personal benefits of going out and gardening and that sort of thing, but from all of your vantage points, can you talk about what you've personally enjoyed about each of these programs, and what your volunteers and what participants in your program actually gain from participating?
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Wes.
All right, sure. So, a lot of people that want to participate in Alabama Master Naturalist, they're people that enjoy the outdoors, whether it be hiking, paddling, things like that. But by participating in this program, not are they just learning how to identify the things that they see around them. So, what is that snake? What is that bird? But they're also learning how to become involved and more sustainably manage the resources that we care about. So it's something that they love. And through this, they're able to help take care of it better.
I'll build on that, because I do think learning, even though Master Gardener, our goal is to train extension volunteers that then, push out additional information. But I think the core of what draws people to Master Gardener and Master Naturalist is that they're interested in learning. They have a passion for something and they want to learn more about it. And in that process, because they're excited about it, because they're interested in it, then they're very interested in sharing that. So I doubt that there's any volunteer minded person that signs up for either of these programs who plans on just keeping it to themselves. They're very interested in getting involved in their community and helping other people understand what they know about, well, I learned this in Master Gardener, or I learned this in Master Naturalist, and you need to know this too. And here's why it's important. I also hear the Master Gardeners talk about our helpline and that they enjoy it just as much, if not more, because they learn something every time they need to look up an answer. We tell them we don't expect them. We're not training them to learn all the answers verbatim and memorize them. We're training them how to look up the answer and to know the basic foundation of what might be happening to that azalea. So they enjoy the learning, whether it's instruction from us or the volunteer activities that they do. And I think that really is the core of what makes both of these ultimately a successful volunteer training program.
Well, that is wonderful. And I know Auburn used to have they still do at the FOI desk, ask any questions. So I imagine these volunteers do get kinds of fascinating questions from individuals who are either just getting into this as a hobby, or possibly somebody who is very experienced and just are having some challenges, sustaining whatever they've already got in place. One of the things that I think is interesting is, exposing our school children, right, to the benefits of growing their own food. And so, Carrie, I know we have had that conversation before. Have you seen that to be, well, not only is it inspiring, but it's also very useful knowledge to have. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. And Master Gardeners mentor a lot of different types of people to learn vegetable gardening. We've been involved in cancer research with UAB, where Master Gardeners mentor a cancer survivor to learn how to have a backyard garden. They've mentored school gardens to teach not just the students, but the teachers how to manage that garden and help it be more productive, to just neighbor to neighbor, helping folks that they know locally where they live how to be more successful as a vegetable gardener. And then, of course, mentoring community gardens as well. So, yeah, what we learned, that we then push it out to a wider audience. And I think that's a benefit in the community. And I think it's, again, one reason that both of these Master Gardener and Master Naturalist are national programs. You know, Alabama is not the only state. And people, our alumni that are living in other places, you know, please look it up in your state too, because these are successful programs, and Extension is proud of them in every state.
And I know maybe for some of our viewers today, Wesley, for the Naturalist program, you know, I mean, you've got a wonderful, you know, co-presenter in your office with you today. And some people are just simply terrified by snakes, right? I mean, we know that that's true. But there's the more you're educated, the less fearful you need to be, and the more you can go out and enjoy our surroundings. And so can you talk a little bit about that aspect of what your program hopes to accomplish?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, people are terrified of snakes, but as with everything, they fit into a larger picture. And really just through education comes understanding. And so we're not a Master Naturalist Junior yet. It's something that we would like to work towards in the future. But in my past work, prior to arriving at Auburn, you know, I would be in classrooms of school children all the time, and that's really where you need to get them in some respects, for especially fear of snakes. But yeah, no, just through education comes understanding, and that's really what we're looking to achieve. And there are still people that, you know, enjoy the outdoors very much, but are still terrified of snakes, terrified of spiders, and just exposing them to those sorts of things can really go a long way.
That's wonderful. And I think just being outdoors too with your surroundings. I find it fascinating that you mentioned that our state is fourth in biodiversity. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So there are a few reasons why Alabama is so biodiverse. One of those is that we just have a lot of different habitats. We're regions within the state. You know, in the northern part, you're up in the mountains, goes all the way down to the coast. And not just that, but we have so many waterways. You know, the Coosa, Tallapoosa, Tennessee, all these different rivers. And a lot of our biodiversity actually comes in these aquatic systems. So we're actually first in the country in several groups of animals. So for example, turtles. We have more turtles in Alabama than anywhere else in the country. And even more so than, you know, some of the tropical rivers like the Amazon. We've got more turtles than you can find in the Amazon. Things like crayfish, things like fish. So yeah, there's a ton of biodiversity. A lot of that relates to our aquatic environments, and the aquatic environments tend to be heavily degraded and endangered. And that's another thing that we try to teach, you know, how to better manage water, things like that. And that ties well into other Alabama Extension work like Water Watch.
Wonderful. So Becky, from your vantage point, in your multiple roles here at Auburn University, what message do you want to relay to our viewers with the vastness of what's going on in all of the counties, but what message in terms of academic programs that we have available that are truly an extension of the extension? But could you share a little bit of that vantage perspective for us?
Yeah, I think it's important that a lot of people don't realize that extension is not just, well, it's not just agriculture as people kind of think about it, row crops, right? We have two wonderful programs right here that are great examples of extension programs that people might not even think about extension having a role in, whether it's, you know, the home ground side or the forestry and wildlife side. We also have the food safety and quality side is the extension. That's one thing, you know, we like to go out to eat to restaurants, especially now after things have kind of eased up a little bit with COVID, and being able to go to those restaurants is directly, you know, go in and be able to eat safely is the result of a lot of the hard work that our extension agents on the food safety and quality side do. Because they do something, you may see those serve safe certificates up on the wall. That's, you know, a lot of times the folks with extension have trained the people that work in those facilities to make sure our food is safe. We have, again, the typical, what you kind of think about typical, we think about food, the row crop side of it, the commercial horticulture, you know, thinking about enjoying fruits and vegetables, strawberries, cucumbers, you know, again, a lot of the training and work that comes from our regional extension agents and our specialists goes to help those producers in those areas. So extension is really wide and varied, and we touch a lot of the lives of the folks in Alabama in ways that people may not even be aware.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And it is a great reminder of the impact that all of you make every day, and certainly our agents across the entire state. So do we have any questions coming in? And I think we are posting the volunteer link for people to kind of sign up and learn more about your programs that we'll have through the Facebook page, and certainly wrapping up the show. We'll share that information as well. So what other types of things would you like to share about each of your programs as we kind of near the end of our time on the show today? Carrie, is there something that you would like to share?
Sure. Well, since you brought up vegetable gardening, we have an extension program. You see all our logos back here. So in Home Grounds, we have three main programs, and our vegetable gardening education program is called Grow More, Give More, because the emphasis is if we're teaching people how to grow more and be more successful in their own garden, well, then let's ask and promote that they can donate that and give more. Our master gardeners have been a big piece of the success in that, again, with mentoring people, answering their garden questions, and even growing and donating themselves. So whether it's their demonstration garden or neighbor to neighbor, even growing transplants and giving them away at the food bank with instructions that teach people how to start a garden at home, whether it be large or small. So Grow More, a lot of our extension programs like Grow More, Give More overlap with each other. Wes mentioned that with Alabama Water Watch. So I think that's another neat thing about extension is that we really work together across topic lines or study area lines and support each other in many ways.
That's wonderful. And I do think that's extremely important. Wes, what about you? What would you like to?
Sure. Well, first, I would just like to put in another plug for extension in that, anything around your home, your garden, out in the woods, all of our numbers and email addresses are publicly accessible. There is a directory online. So if you have a question, go through that directory, contact somebody. If they don't know the answer, they'll put you in touch with somebody that does. I get calls from the general public all the time. Yesterday, it was about a fox denning in somebody's yard, things like that. But with Alabama Master Naturalist, I will say, even though that our program hasn't launched yet, if you do want to start accruing those volunteer hours and plan to become certified in 2022, you may do so. The only thing that I ask with the volunteer hours, please just clear the work with me or with somebody from the program prior to engaging in them if you want them to start. But if they occur in the state of Alabama, it's truly volunteer work, and it's doing anything that helps conserve natural resources or is outdoors. It will probably count.
Great. Well, I just want to thank you all again for what you do for our state, and then also our university, and personally, feeding that hobby, if you will, for me, and it's very exciting. So thank you for taking the time, and we will post those links on our website so that you will hopefully expect some additional volunteers your way, but certainly appreciate you doing that. So to wrap up today's show, I just want to let you know about a couple of things that the Auburn Alumni Association has coming up. We are going to have our annual coaches tour with Coach Brian Harson and Coach Bruce Pearl. It's called Ambush, and we kick those off next week in Atlanta. And then the following week, we're going to be in Mobile, Montgomery, and Huntsville. So I'd invite you to go to our website. If you can join us for those, it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, I'd like to encourage you to visit the alumni website. We do have call for nominations right now for our Lifetime Achievement, Young Alumni Achievement. And we also have a new program called 20 Under 40 for young alumni. And so if you know some outstanding Auburn alumni who are in that wonderful young age range, we'd encourage you to nominate them. And so thank you all for viewing today. We really appreciate your continued interest in the 1856 series, and appreciate you tuning in. And War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.